Here is a chart of Harley-Davidson's average age of their first-time buyer. It is one of the most predictable charts of all time. It doesn't move, it almost always stays the same. And it's used by many people, including me, to describe the classic midlife crisis. But what if I told you about another midlife crisis? One that is in your 50s that you've probably never heard before. When your success, when your identity, your money, and your time all collide. In this video, I will share with you what this is, what this means for you, and how you can best use the most consequential decade of your financial life. That is your 50s. Just imagine this for a second. You sit on the couch to watch a basketball game for an hour with your son. You leave your phone like you always do on the kitchen counter. During a random commercial break, you walk to the kitchen to grab a snack, and you pick up your phone just to see what's going on. There are 3 notifications. The first is a text message from your parents. They need a ride to the doctor on Thursday for a follow-up appointment. The next notification is an email from one of your colleagues at work. A project just moved forward and needs to be shipped by the end of next week, not the end of next month. The final notification is an email from the admissions office of the school your daughter applied to 3 months prior. She just got in. In a matter of 10 seconds, you process who is going to take your parents to the doctor, what needs to be moved around on your calendar to ship this project early, and the financial ramifications of paying for the school your daughter just got accepted into. You walk back to the couch thinking, we'll get through this. We always have. You're 52 now. Life is good, life is hard, it's busy. And what just happened to you is a weekly occurrence. You are standing in the middle of a demanding career, aging parents, growing kids, and a home that needs to be maintained. You feel part ATM, part time machine, and part bottle of glue. Welcome to the middle of your financial life. I want to share with you a curve that is immensely helpful as you hit your stride in the middle of life. I call it the complexity curve. Now, as you can see on the screen here, that as life progresses, it typically becomes more complicated. And this isn't because you are necessarily more complicated as a person, but it is the sum total of your life that makes this complicated. When you think about your kids, you have a demanding career, you oftentimes have aging parents, your family is growing itself and it is different, you have more responsibility, your financial life is simply bigger and more complex. And at some point for everyone, just like the example I gave, you hit a peak. And while the madness around you is loud, the margin for financial error is significant. Now, I don't necessarily think your 50s are the most important financial decade of your life, but I believe they are the most consequential. This is because you do simply have fewer earning years in front of you left. While that's true, your income is at the highest. So what happens when your income is high is, well, you have options to buy your way out of problems. But then if you buy your way out of problems, that means you are not investing. You also have more people simply depending on you, and the people who are depending on you, and like again in the example above, they either take your time or they consume large amounts of cash. Furthermore, you have less time to simply wait it out. As the saying goes, more money, more problems. And here's the key mistake that people make. They assume at this stage of life that the same playbook that got them to this place will be the same one that gets them through this. And that is assuming that this person knows what through this even means. Earlier in life, pretty much all financial problems were fixed by simply time. So for an example, if you bought a car that you probably shouldn't have bought in your 30s and you took a large car loan out at a high rate, well, how did you get rid of that problem? You just simply paid it off over a series of time. But what happens in your 50s though, time, as in your time to earn your way out of problems, it simply shrinks. And it's worth knowing too that statistically, a person has a 50-50 shot of being employed by the same employer throughout this decade. So put another way, your career risk is high. Investing mistakes become more consequential simply because your portfolio itself is bigger. That yields higher taxes from both higher incomes of your 50s as well as bigger portfolios. And when you put all of this together, it can just be very challenging. And I've seen this with many clients over the years, but there is a way out. And here is how. So first thing, when you're at the peak of your complexity curve, is you need to take stock of where you actually are in your financial journey and where ideally you want to go and where statistically you likely are to go. And let me hit on this statistically thing for a second. Like I said before, a person has a 50-50 chance of being employed at the same company throughout their entire decade. So you likely are not going to stay at the same employer even if you think you are going to. And furthermore, while you may want to work until 67, that might not be the case. The average age for a person to retire in our country is between 62 and 63. But back to taking stock of where you actually are. Like I implied in the story above, your head in your 50s may not actually be on the basics. You're thinking about your aging parents. You're thinking about your daughters and what are they doing on Friday night and where are they going to school? How are you going to pay for their school? You're thinking about the career, the staff that works for you. Those are the things that are on your mind, and you're not necessarily thinking of the basics, like how much money are you spending? How much money are you going to be spending in retirement? What is the trajectory of your portfolio? Are you putting money in the right places? These are all basic things that when you're at the peak of your complexity curve, they're not necessarily on your mind, which this leads us into the second point. Once you have the basic understanding of where you are at financially now and heading into the future, you need to sit down with a competent advisor or a trusted source and build an actual financial plan. And what this financial plan is it's not the one you did 5 years ago. It's not the one you did 10 years ago. This is a financial plan that is reflective of where you are today and where you are heading. And the goal of this financial plan, and this is important, is to get your money ready for you before you are ready to retire. That is the goal of what you're trying to do in the second step. And once your plan is in place, everything then moves to execution. Now, you've seen the complexity curve a few times in this video, and you know that over time, your financial life will become simpler. I've seen it many times before. But before you get there, you need to focus on execution. And that is getting a tax strategy that mirrors what you need to do in your 50s when your earnings are high and your portfolio is generating income in and of itself. You need to have a contribution strategy that maximizes the impact of your contributions while you are earning the most money you've ever earned before. And then you need a spending strategy that reflects the fact that you still have kids in your house spending your own money. And while that may be true today, it's not always going to be. So a spending strategy that fits today and then also in the future. It's worth noting too that a plan is only as good as the execution that follows the creation of it. Let's wrap this up. So remember that Harley-Davidson chart of the first-time buyers in the beginning? It is so easy to laugh at that and to think about how predictable people are, particularly men. And so while getting a Harley-Davidson, I can imagine, is fun, or having some version of a midlife crisis is fun, the financial midlife crisis isn't quite that. The consequences are high, the margin for error is small, and the mistakes can compound in future decades. This is hard, but when you walk through it, when you get a plan, when you execute on the plan, and when you come out the other side of the complexity curve, what you end up with is a life that is less complex and a stronger, growing, thriving financial life, where you'll pay less in taxes, you'll have more retirement income, and you'll enjoy the fruits of a great career. Now, does this sound pie in the sky or overly optimistic? Perhaps, but I've seen this play out many times with clients before. And this is the real opportunity in your 50s, to take stock of where you are, to plan accordingly, to execute and enjoy the fruits of a declining complexity curve. Thanks for your time this week. I'll see you guys next time.